Well, let's start with the protagonist, Jacob Levy Moreno. What he says in the first section of his book Psychodrama, dedicated to the cradle of the method, is that Psychodrama was born on full day April 1st, 1921, between 7 and 10 p.m. The locus nascendi, birthplace, for the first official psychodramatic session was the Comedian House, a theater for the drama in Vienna. I had no cast of actors and no play. I stood that night alone, fully unprepared, before an audience of more than 1,000 people. When the curtain went up, the stage was bare except for a red plush armchair, which had a gilded frame and a high back, like the throne of a king. On the seat of the chair was a gilded crown. The audience was composed of, besides a majority of problem and curiosity seekers, representatives of European and foreign states, religious, political, and cultural organizations. Reflecting on the event, Moreno confessed, "As I look back, I am amazed at my own boldness." He explains that it was an attempt to treat and purge the audience from a disease, a pathological cultural syndrome, which the participants shared. His view of the problem was that post-war Vienna was seething with revolt and that the country had no stable government, no emperor, no king, no leader. In addition, he adds, like Germany, Russia, the United States, indeed, the entire populated earth, also Austria was restless in search of a new soul. In his master thesis on Moreno, the Austrian psychologist Anna Theresia Briburg claims that it was the Austrian journalist Karl Kraus who had inspired Moreno to action with his epilogue, The Last Night, from the play The Last Days of Humanity. According to her, Moreno, however, rejected the intention to show the apocalyptic environment, and Briburg also comments that, in effect, there was an advertisement in the Volkszeitung, People's Daily, of April 1st, 1921, stating that the buffoon theater of Jacob Levy's King of the World will be enacted for the first time today, Friday at 10 p.m. at the Comedy Theater. Moreno himself said, psychodramatically speaking, I had a cast and I had a play. The audience was my cast. The people in the audience were like 1,000 unconscious playwrights. The play was the situation into which they were thrown by historical events, in which each of them had a real part to play. Referring to the event 25 years later, in the book Psychodrama, Moreno explains that his objective was, as we would say today, to tap sociodrama in status nascendi, in its nascent state, and to analyze the production. What is clear in the April 1921 event is the historical priority that the creator of the method attributes to social problems, since the first official session was actually a social psychodrama, or, as he himself synthesizes, a social drama. By the by, his comment on the sequence of the scene clarifies his position very well. The natural theme was the search for a new order of things, the testing of anyone in the audience who aspired to leadership and perhaps to find a savior, each according to his role. Politicians, ministers, writers, soldiers, physicians, and lawyers, all were invited by me to step onto the stage, to sit on the throne, and to act like a king. No one was prepared ahead of time. Unprepared characters acted in an unprepared play before an unprepared audience. The audience played the role of the jury, but the test must have been too difficult. No one passed it. When the show was over, no one was judged worthy of being a king, and the world remained leaderless. The Viennese press was disturbed by the incident we found on the next morning. What Moreno does not comment on in the book Psychodrama, doing so instead in his autobiography, is that our most favorable review was in the Wiener Mittagszeitung, Viennese morning newspaper, of April 2nd, 1921. The dramatist introduces himself to the audience as the king's jester, who is in the search of the king of the world, of the king who cannot be chosen, but who must be recognized because he exists as an idea and has his true habitat in the heart of mankind. The presentation was received by the public with ironic applause, which at times hindered the production. But there were also some people who were followers of Werfel, Moreno's colleague, and who strongly took the part of the mysterious poet. Okay, but where does the April Fool's prank come in? What happens is that the emergence of psychodrama continues to be the subject of controversy, and Moreno himself contributed to the confusion. The term first appeared in the English language scientific literature in an extensive 70-page article signed and published by him in the first issue of his journal Sociometry in 1937. However, as I said, in the first volume of Psychodrama, published 9 years later, that is, in 1946, its own creator claimed that Psychodrama was born on April 1st, 1921. In 1951 and in 1954, however, in 2 other books, Moreno mentioned the advent of psychodrama in 1923. And many years later, in 1969, in the book Psychodrama, Action Therapy and Principles of Practice, he commented that, in fact, when psychodrama entered the scene in 1911, it was opposed to the legitimate drama as well as to the commedia dell'arte. So, which is it? 1911, 1921, or 1923? Dictionaries do not serve easily as useful sources either. The famous Oxford English Dictionary records the term psychodrama as having been used for the first time in 1932, associating it with the name of J.L. Moreno. As for the prestigious Merriam-Webster Dictionary, when consulted by email on the source of this information, one of its editors acknowledged that it came from the previously mentioned Oxford English Dictionary. In fact, this editor commented that, being unable to confirm the information, he preferred to move it to a date in which he had more confidence, 1937, as the year in which the term psychodrama was first used in English, also associated with Moreno's name. The date of 1937 seems to be the first in a truly confirmed manner in which the term appears in the English language, already related to the name of Jacob Levy Moreno. The element of surprise comes about, however, when we switch to the German language, but that's another story for another day.